Pence argues January 6th is disqualifying for Trump as he launches a campaign. You got President Biden sending tweets out left and right. One of these tweets is pretty questionable. We're going to talk about that one. DeSantis hits Trump for not firing Fauci. An insane time-lapse video showing how quickly this wildfire smoke just took over New York City. I don't know if you guys saw that one. We're going to talk about that one later in today's video. And I don't know if you guys saw this deep fake. Putin announced mass mobilization and martial law in this hacked TV broadcast. Guys, we got a lot to cover in today's video. If you guys are new to the channel, Ron Yates here. Hope you guys are doing very well. Consider subscribing to the channel and also drop a huge like for the video. I would totally appreciate that. By the way, for the very best way to invest in gold or silver, check out the links in the description down below this video. So Pence argues January 6th is disqualifying for Trump as he launches a campaign. Former Vice President Mike Pence, he launched his 2024 presidential campaign Wednesday by sharply breaking with former President Donald Trump, laying out clear differences on policy and values and arguing that Trump's push to overturn the 2020 election should be disqualifying. What do you guys think about basically Pence turning his back completely on Trump, after they've been, partners for so many years? Is there any kind of loyalty left? Or, is it that when you decide to run for office, all bets are off? You guys let me know how that plays out. So Pence is speaking to a crowd of supporters in Ankeny, Iowa, offered his clearest rationale yet for why he is challenging his old running mate for the Republican nomination. Pence accused Trump of wavering on conservative policy priorities such as curtailing abortion access and balancing the budget on the bemoaned Trump's brand of politics as too divisive. Well, I don't know how many people are really going to argue the fact that Trump's policies and his political practices were a little bit divisive, to say the least. But what do you guys think about Trump's stance on abortion rights? Does a woman not have a right to choose what to do with her body? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. The former vice president also focused extensively on the events of January 6, 2021, when pro-Trump rioters stormed the Capitol Hill to stop the certification of the 2020 election, with some chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." Yeah, so basically, quote, "The American people deserve to know on that fateful day." President Trump also demanded, "I choose between him and the Constitution." This is what Pence said. Went on to say that now voters will be faced with the same choice. "I choose the Constitution and I always will." Wow, just a complete change of stance with Mike Pence. So I don't know if you guys saw this tweet from Vice President. I don't know if you guys saw this tweet from President Biden. It says here, "We've added more jobs to the United States economy in 28 months than any president has in a 4-year term," right? Now, if you look at the chart here, you can see that the jobs report created by President Biden, and President Biden is just standing out like a sore thumb, just shooting through the ranks, shooting through the roof, almost hitting 500,000 jobs per month in the Biden administration. And it shows how Trump had negative 50,000 jobs per month on average. So here's the thing, guys. You see the chart. Many sources have already pointed out that the historic job gains under Biden are largely attributed to the timing of when Biden took office in relation to the end of the pandemic recession. They also count per job, not per person. 6% of Americans now work 2+ jobs. So basically, they're saying that, if you have 2 jobs, it's adding to the fact that it looks like more jobs were created, even though it's not like there's more people working. The other thing is that, when you look at the fact that the pandemic started toward the end of Trump's presidency, the number of jobs that were lost thanks to the basically global shutdown, then it looks like, President Trump had a negative quantity of jobs for his term. But it gives a very exaggerated stance on how well President Biden did in terms of bringing jobs back to the economy, because, the economy started opening up once President Biden was in office. So, he gets a lot of credit for just being there at the time when the country was opening up rather than actually creating jobs, if you ask me. What are you guys' thoughts on this? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Hit me up in the comment section down below. I think it's pretty obvious what's actually happening here. And I don't think that, me personally, if I was president, I would not have tried to toot my own horn saying that, look how many jobs I created, when you know that the economy just reopened shortly after you took office. Anyway, so DeSantis hits Trump for not firing Dr. Anthony Fauci. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' presidential campaign is criticizing former President Donald Trump for not firing Anthony Fauci during the C-19 pandemic. Yeah, so basically there's a video highlighting Trump's decision to keep Fauci on his team. He goes on to say here, the 44-second video spot, which DeSantis' rapid response team tweeted, shows clips of Trump from his years on NBC's Apprentice telling the contestants that you're fired. So, quote, this is from Trump. Every time he goes on television, there's always a bomb. He goes on to say that, but there's a bigger bomb if you fire him. So it then contrasts that footage with video of Trump explaining why he did not fire Fauci, a key figure in the Trump and Biden administrations, who was the former director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. Yeah, there's a lot of mixed opinions on Fauci. I think at one point Fauci was very, very well respected in general by the masses. Certainly seems like the tables have turned since then. Fauci became a conservative target as he recommended, along with many other public health officials, lockdowns and social distancing during the pandemic. More than 1 million people died from the C-19 according to the records. Now, of course, some people will debate whether or not those numbers are accurate, but I'm not here to debate that today. Trump suggested ahead of the 2020 presidential election that he would fire Fauci after Election Day, but he did not do so. DeSantis has sought to contrast his handling of the pandemic with Trump's. So basically, I think what's going to happen here is DeSantis is basically going to dissect former President Trump's every move during his presidency and show all the, just kind of point out and nitpick all the different flaws that he had. That way, he kind of highlights himself as, hey, look what he did during the last term. Do you guys want another round of that? This is what I would do differently. This is how politics works. Make the other guy look as bad as possible, and hopefully you can win over some votes. Based on the polls, though, it doesn't look like DeSantis necessarily has the backing that he's going to need to be able to take Trump during this campaign here, but we'll have to see. Trump has fired back at DeSantis, pointing to the state's relatively high number of deaths and its brief lockdown at the onset of the pandemic. Now, of course, everybody's an expert in hindsight. If I got to watch an entire movie play out from the beginning to the end, then of course I can say what you should have done in certain situations. But, when you live a movie, it's kind of hard to do everything perfectly in the moment as things are rolling out in real time. Now, there was this insane time-lapse video that showed how quickly wildfire smoke just covered New York City. I don't know if you guys saw that. Yeah, so this jaw-dropping video showed exactly how quickly visibly deteriorated in New York City on Wednesday as smoke from hundreds of active wildfires coming all the way down from Canada just filled the Big Apple with smoke. So there's this clip that's posted by the NWS, the National Weather Service, on Twitter. Basically shows a pretty clear sky New York outline, or New York skyline, in the morning around 11 a.m. But basically this orange haze started making its way to New York City around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So yeah, so the NWS called the Martian-like footage of the city almost unbelievable in the tweet. Quote, those vulnerable to poor air quality, including seniors and young children, should limit time outdoors if possible, end quote. So I think it goes without saying, but wow, that's just crazy to see this. It almost, kind of scary. It's kind of scary, it almost reminds me of, back in, 2001 during the World Trade Towers going down and how much overcast and how thick the air was then. That's kind of what it reminds me of, but it's just wild how far that traveled, to go all the way from Canada and bring that much soot and air pollution to New York all the way from Canada is just kind of wild to me. It says here that the air quality index was even worse than that after the attacks of the September 11, 2001. Yeah, so however, the air from the Canadian wildfires is not nearly as toxic as the debris cloud that shrouded the city after the World Trade Towers collapsed in Lower Manhattan. Interesting. Because it almost looks worse than it was for, 2001, September 11th. But evidently, it's not nearly as dangerous to breathe, thankfully. Moving on. Did you guys see the deep fake regarding Vladimir Putin? So basically, there's this deep fake. Putin announced mass mobilization and martial law in this hacked TV broadcast. A deep fake of Vladimir Putin. Man, AI is just getting better and better depending upon how you look at it. It's like AI is getting better and better, but people are using it for worser and worser reasons. A deepfake of Vladimir Putin seems to have convinced Russians of a mass mobilization and martial law order after the station got hacked. Wild. Can you imagine if some news stations got hacked here and President Biden allegedly just told the masses, hey, basically you use a deep fake to make President Biden look like he's saying hey, there's a martial law being rolled out. Everyone stay in your houses, don't leave, and just basically scared all the US citizens into doing whatever, the hacker wanted them to do. But this is basically what played out over in Russia. It says here the Russian despot was the victim of artificial likeness, which was promptly fed into TV screens across Russia, stoking fears of mandatory fighting against Ukraine. With hackers broadcasting the emergency appeal of the president to hundreds of thousands, it would appear that the message was thrown out on television sets as a way of inciting fear. Now, I mean, most people don't really question what's on TV. So if a deep fake was really created of President Biden saying something similar here in the United States, can you just imagine the chaos that would be created? I'm just saying, it would be scary, to say the least. The deepfake president could be heard speaking of the insidious enemy with Putin's likeness used in a fake broadcast in the midst of the Ukraine war. And depending upon how well you know your president, I mean, maybe you were genuinely fooled by this deep fake. So anyway, guys, drop me some comments, drop me some questions down below. Let me know what you guys think about today's topics. What was the wildest thing that we talked about today? Also, if you guys are new to the channel, please consider dropping a like for the video and also subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate you guys. Right now, you should see 2 videos above my head. Go ahead and click on those videos right now and check those out, and share this video with everyone you know. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me today, and I'm gonna catch you guys on the next one. Y'all be safe.